I don't got a theme song yet. I don't got a theme song yet. So we're just going here. Just going to here, play my guitar. I don't got a theme song yet. No, I don't got a theme song yet for my friggin' late show. Depending on perspective. Late show. Depending on perspective. I don't got a theme song yet. No theme song yet. But I got an idea what I want to talk about. A little bit tonight, we're going to talk about war. We're going to tell some stories. And maybe you in the comments are going to tell me something that you know about war. First, I'm going to take this off because with the headphones on at the same time, the way I have it, it's just a pain in the ass. Give me a moment, people. You gotta love your instruments, for they help you make the art that you make. Look at that. You're not supposed to see back there. Don't you look back there. Don't you look back there at all. It's the worst place you can look. That's where the wizard doesn't want you to see. Anyway, I said I was going to talk about war. Why am I going to talk about war? Well, I was born in 1979. I know you can't tell because I could play like 25 to like 50. Depending on makeup, okay? Fine, whatever. If I shave this, I can play 16. That's why I don't. So, but being born in 1979, I was born into a world where we were in a Cold War. A Cold War. Which meant that we didn't actually go directly to war with the country. No, we had, blockade or something. And we did proxy wars with the country. And it was the big theme of all the 80s movies when I was growing up. War, Wow, we got to go get those guys. Those guys. Rambo and Commando and everything like that. And then, turns out I find out there's actually a wing of the military that's just for, helping Hollywood give a good perception of the military. And I'm not saying you should have a bad one. No, not at all, not at all, not at all. You should have a good perception of your military. I believe majority of people, it can't be all of them because there's some bad people everywhere, but the majority of them, they're there doing what they think they're supposed to do, right? Where I was going with this. Anyway. But in my attempts to not offend anyone, I totally fell off track. But yeah, there's, I don't want to offend anyone from the military. I think it's great. My wife has a military family. Fun. But there's been a language of war my entire life. And I could say that when I first really heard it, don't worry, I'll be funny throughout parts of this, not the whole thing though. When I first really paid attention to the common language of war that had always been there since I was a little tiny kid, that common language of war since I was little, it was in the media everywhere. And it didn't really hit me until my wife and I were getting married, and my wife and I got married on September 14th, 2001 at 8 p.m. at night in Vegas. Now, for those of you that don't know, and we didn't know, that was supposed to be the international moment of silence for 9/11. Oops. We didn't find out till the next day. You guys shouldn't have been getting married then. Well, we did. Shit. But I was looking at some of the headlines the next day, which, by the way, we were woken up scared out of our mind the day after our wedding night, as there was a parade of police and fire trucks blaring their silent sirens down the Las Vegas Strip We called the front desk. We go, "What is going on? Are we being evacuated? We'll go out naked. We don't care." They're like, "No, no. It's a memorial parade for those who have fallen." I go, I'm just sitting there going, "Okay, I respect this, but in Vegas, really?" Like, okay, I'm not saying Vegas is unpatriotic. I just in Vegas, like the people that still went to Vegas are people that are saying, "Fuck it, we're still going gambling, drinking, and fucking." So it's not gonna stop. If it didn't stop you to go to Vegas because a plane slammed into towers, well, you're not the type that's gonna be ready for being woken up by a shit ton of sirens going down the strip. That's all I'm saying. Not a good choice by the city. But yeah, everywhere. Like I saw these headlines, later on. I don't think it was right after that. It was just it's around that time because that was that time, when that attack happened and then we went to war with Afghanistan. There's kind of this weird blur in there for me. And I remember looking at a paper that says US goes to war with Afghanistan. And I was bothered. US declares war on Afghanistan. I was annoyed. Later on, US declares war on Iraq again. I was upset. And what I was upset about was I didn't declare war on anyone. This way we have George Carlin talked about soft language making people soft. Well, vague language that groups people together as one that aren't really one is just it's a horrible weapon of control. It's manipulative language. When you say US declares war and then you put a country's name, yeah, it's great. It fits in the headline, but it's not telling part of the context that is important within that sentence. When you say US declares war, US declares war with Afghanistan. Let's use that as an example. What that headline should really be called is rich, powerful people in the US are going to send poor people's kids to die and kill other poor people's kids in Afghanistan. Because I didn't declare war. I know that if you're watching this, most likely you haven't ever declared war on a country in your life. I think that's most of us citizens, right? And yet the way the media talks about it is if we're all just a hive mind. That because our leaders, because the people that are above us said, we're upset with some people over there. Yes. And we think it's good enough to send some of these poor people to go die. I mean, not our own kids, of course not. They're going to be the leaders of your kids' new world when they send them to die. That's an upsetting concept, I gotta tell you. Like, some people are going to be upset and say I might be cynical, but like I said, I think majority of people in the military are there for good reason. I believe that their hearts are pure, their intent is right. But what I'm upset about is that we all get thrown in with this tribal framing as if we are all one hive mind. But guess what? It also frames the others that way. And this is where I've heard people that are otherwise intelligent say things that you wouldn't say about people in your own sphere or country or your own friend or what. We understand in the context of our own country, in the context of a certain area around us, that people are different and even divided. But the language around war is always that everybody over there is completely united against us. And the problem is it works. I've heard otherwise really intelligent people go, you don't understand. Over there, all those people think the same. How could an adult believe that shit about any place they're looking at. As an intelligent adult, you cannot believe that. That's either incredibly racist. I don't know what to, like all these people in this one country. Yeah, they have all the same values, all the same religion. Nobody has any political differences. And every time they have an election, there's 100% vote for one person, and they knew exactly who it would be. Except our country, we're so divided. Like, we're not the only ones. But what's upsetting is much like, and to much more extent, I would say Noam Chomsky might go over in his 3N something hour film, Manufacturing Consent. They've tricked people into adopting this into their own thinking about the enemy. And this is the weirdest thing about all this is they, and I say they, the powerful entities, as George Carlin would put it, the owners, they don't send their kids, their families to fight in any of these wars. They send ours. They don't go. They don't even believe enough in the causes to sacrifice one of their own. They sacrifice all the pawns below them. And the news talks about it as if, well, of course, every American is going to do their duty and be behind this effort. Of course, won't you be a team player? Be a team player. No, not on this. Like, the Nazis were bad, right? So why were they bad? Because they went around with their own self-righteousness, causing wars over and over again that never had to happen. Never had to happen at all. Just completely destroying parts of the world for some methed up view of superiority. No, I didn't mispronounce messed up. I said methed up because we know about Hitler and his crystal meth friends. You know, you wonder why Nazism is so popular in Florida. Must be the meth. But anyways, I know I've gone off topic a little bit here, but it just bothers me how easy it is to manipulate the masses. You put them under a country, but you don't take care of all of them. And then you demand their patriotic loyalty to give their life for a country and speak about it in the press as if we all were in on the same thing and we all got the same goal. I don't like that language. I believe that soft language is dangerous. As George Carlin put it, I believe soft language weakens people. It teaches you that it's okay to just have thin skin and go cry in a corner when you should really just figure out that, meh, people say shit. Oh, well. It's funny. I was thinking about this because I, I've been to both of the types of safe spaces of open mics. And you go, what do you mean both types of safe spaces of open mics? Okay, check it out. There's two types. There's the one you're going to think of right away. You're going to think of the lefty, safe space open mic. We don't do any jokes about violence towards women, no rape jokes. And we also don't tell anything that will make anyone cry. And that is the most extreme, right? And then there's the right safe spaces, right? What is on the right safe space? This is a place where you can say the N-word and no one will hit you. I've been to both open mics, man. I don't really like the former, but you don't always know until you get there. And then you realize, oh, this is their safe space. You know, if racists could stay in their own safe spaces, then the world would be fine. Yeah, you go in there in that church that you made look like a Davidian compounds for some fucking reason. You go in there, you know. Ah, I want to hide the view counter on this. I keep watching one person, zero. One person, zero. Not being funny enough. Not being funny enough. Bye bye. But I don't even know to trust it. I found out that like YouTube, like you can watch and you could you get 3 people to watch your video on YouTube. You look it up the next day, it says no views. You're like, what the fuck is this? Like there should be at least 3. I don't know. So I started with war and lost y'all. Nah, didn't I? But yeah. Uh I don't know. I just want to get that off my chest. It's bugged me for a long time because we're not a hive mind. You're not part of a hive mind. No one is part of a hive mind. Okay? We're all snowflakes and individuals. Yes, we is. We are. We are all different. And I find it upsetting the manipulative way that narrowed language without context is used to manipulate the masses into consenting for what the powerful want. And yeah, if you want to hear a longer version of this, yes, go watch Noam Chomsky's Manufacturing Consent, because I basically just said the summation of that. But I guess the reason I want to do it is I've had this conversation with only a few people, and it's like it irks me that more people haven't even thought about this. Like, what the hell are we doing following kings and presidents and company owners? Why are we following all these great men into battle that don't even go themselves, right? It's just, why would we do that? Well, now I've done war, so I'm going to go to the lighthearted subjects. I'm going to talk about weirdness on YouTube, man. So I did 3 videos that I put out on my YouTube, 3 different shorts, and I tried a couple experiments. So I have found, if you're a comedian watching and you want to do shorts on YouTube, get the most views, there's a few, tips that I got for you right now, okay? Then these are just mine. There's people that get way more views than me. You should find out if they're doing videos telling you what to do. Don't just take it from me. You want to get more views, do the shorts. Those are the things that have the most views of mine. Unfortunately, political, gross, dirty, all those tags, like for dirty comedy, dirty humor, political comedy, political humor, all that gross comedy, gross humor, that's just going to get you on it. But here's the thing. I noticed that you have to post, if you're in the California time zone, before 5 o'clock to maximize your views. 5 p.m. Okay. I guess once it gets 5 o'clock here, it's 5 o'clock everywhere. And they's done. You understand? As we would say back where my granny Bruce is from in Louisiana. We're done. We're gonna go drink now. I heard she had a gruff voice, but right now I'm just doing what I think she sounds like. But it's weird. So I did the 3 videos, and the second video I put up from the Dat Fan and Friends got like only a few views, and I did that around 8 o'clock at night. So the 2 that I did that got the most views are my ones at the Ice House, and they got over 2,000 views. And all I did was tag them with, yes. One of them got a bunch of views right away because I said January 6th in the tags. I also put terrorism in the tags. And for a little while, I was scared because that was the only one that like TikTok was like, we're not going to help you autofill this. What is in your video? Don't worry. It's how to make a pipe bomb out of cat shit. I actually know how to do that. It just won't explode. It's a bomb, though. You put that cat shit in there, you open it in the right place. People look around going, the fuck? What is that smell? I know what that smell is, but that's the worst smell. That's shit. But that's not human shit. What kind of shit is that? That is the type of shit that smells like it comes out of a cardboard box machine. That's what cat shit smells like. It is the worst shit in the world, especially if you have a kitten and you're feeding them a lot to make them grow. And then they make those big old, like, it looks like someone took that Play-Doh machine with the star and just, but then the star, well, they use the circle. They use the circle because their friend came over and that kid ate the star template because we're not going to talk about him. Anyway, speaking about not talking about him, I saw a comedian last night and he was making all these references to how he looked on stage. And I guess maybe if that comedian's watching right now, Guy, if you're watching out there, you ain't doing the obvious. You ain't doing your we don't talk about Bruno joke. So you do that. You do that. I have had no comments. I see people viewing, but I want some more comments now. I have ranted about war and talked about how I've gotten some views on YouTube. Hopefully that helps some comedians. You know, but I do want to hear from you guys. What do you want me to talk about? You know, and I will eventually do another Dan's art show. Of course I will. Of course I will. But this whole idea of the late depending on perspective show is do something a little different. I was hoping I'd get some text today from comedians that wanted to join, but I know that I do this show on a Monday, and that's when most comedians are trying to make sure that the gun is hidden before midnight. Yes. People would say, is that real, Dan? I go, well, sometimes you have a family, so they hide the gun for you. What is up? Thomas Howard. Wow. How's it going, man? So, I know, Thomas, you're a sensei, right? You are, aren't you? Yes, and Suzanne. I saw your profile a while back, and we interact every once in a while on Facebook. Haven't seen you in person in a long time. It's interesting. I believe that you have your black belt. And yeah, my wife is a sensei. She's a disabled sensei right now. Yeah. So she's like either in a wheelchair or, on one of those scooter things. People ask if she's really hurt. And I say, well, would a ninja tell you if they were? So she wouldn't tell you if she was, but she is hurt. She hurt herself she was going to do a tournament, and it was the day before her tournament. She's helping someone else warm up. Oh yeah, she's going to get better. We had to switch. Thank you though. Oh yeah. By the way, I should show these. I should get in this habit of being good at this shit. Right? I'm going to have a show. I should be good at it. But anyways, but yeah, she's gonna do fine. We just switched to Kaiser, and they actually looked at her, so we're gonna do better now. And actually she's been walking better, so I think something's going on better there, and it's not going worse. Also, she did take some more of the doctor's orders and stayed off of it. But she does want to get better too. Like, out of both of us, she's the one that really loves her job. So she wants to go back to, she started at the desk there, but she was already a black belt, and then as other teachers, roll in and out, and some of the teachers go off to college or something, she started teaching other kids and she likes it. In fact, how about we do this? I'm only going to stay on live for another few minutes for this late depending on perspective show that some of you have tuned into. But I will talk to you what it's like to be in a house where there's 4 of us, and I am the only one that does not have a black belt. You see, my wife and my daughters, they have black belts. I have a black bass and a black guitar. That's it. And a guitar with a sunburst finish, but I don't use that one right now. I'm using my 7-string. But yes, they have black belts. I do not. And I have to tell you, the fact that I got bullied when I was younger was not a good thing. Because they are awfully sick of me starting fights in public and saying, "Get 'em, girls!" Ha 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 ha! They're especially pissed off that I bought a monocle to go with that whole thing. Just put on my top hat monocle. "Angels, go! Go get them!" They're like, "Are you supposed to be the Penguin or Charlie?" "I'm whatever I want to be. Now go fight my enemies for me." It's dangerous, having black belts that are family. You assume they're your bodyguards. You know, we were walking through some city and there's some rough looking dudes. I grabbed my daughter by her shoulder and just moved her to the other side of me. She's like, "What?" And I go, "You're the one with the black belt. You sit here." Yes. I am well protected. Isn't it funny? Thomas, Thomas. And I know we called you by a different name in school, but it says Thomas, and that's probably what you're going by now. So I'm going to stick with that. Because I think you had, it went by a different name. But isn't this funny? Isn't this funny? He said, "You're well protected." Why am I well protected, Thomas? Because I went without protection. Yeah. Okay. So you said Jay, you put in the comments. So I'm like, yeah, I know it's Jay Howard. It's just, it says Thomas now. So I didn't know if you wanted to go by that now. So I wanted to be, I hadn't talked to you about that. I had just seen the Facebook profile. I was like, yeah, Jay Thomas Howard. I know that. But yeah, I am well protected by not having protection. I have made my own army of military black belt women. Okay, well, I didn't make my wife. Someone else made her, but I found her and tricked her into putting a ring on her finger. I don't know why she ever fell for that shit. But yes, we're here with the 2 kids, and they can all kick ass, I do have to tell you, though, that it's weird because, like, my wife would try holds on me, and I eventually had to tell her, "Okay, you can practice your holds on me, but you can't practice the rear naked choke on me when the girls are awake." And she's like, "Why?" And I say, "Because I don't want them to see me with a boner." So I don't know why that does it for me, but that rear naked choke, yo. Odd. Anyways, if you were in high school with me and you wonder why I quit wrestling, don't wonder anymore. No. Fuck it. I've decided I'm going to stay on for just a little bit longer. Come on, people, in the comments. What do you want to talk to me about today? If you notice, I am sober. Whoa. What am I doing? A show sober? Ooh. Oh, I lost a viewer because I said I was sober. That's fucked up. And it's funny. People are like, "We didn't know you were sober." Yeah. That's what happens when you're a champion. You won't be able to tell the difference. Anyway, no, you can tell. I have watched plenty of shit of me being drunk because of the old podcast and stuff to know how I look when I'm drunk. It ain't good. Okay. It's strange because I'm not sweating, but I look on the verge of sweating the entire time on those shows. It's like, "Why are you red? I can tell you didn't get sun, but you're red somehow." Like, what? Yes, it was horrible. I used to review. Here's the funniest thing about having a podcast, and I don't know, maybe if anybody watching has had a podcast before, you tell me if you have the similar experience that I've had. Okay, because here's the experience I've had on a podcast. You start a podcast, your very first episode, you watch the whole fucking thing and critique yourself. The second episode, you watch, but you skip through it just to the parts where you're worried about how it went. The third episode, you watch for about 10 minutes. You go, no, I'm pretty sure the rest was fine. And then the fourth episode on, you don't go back and watch any of the shit you did. It's too fucking long and you have stuff to do. Anybody else that's ever had a podcast have that experience? I mean, gosh, there's a reason why when we did Therapy of the Absurd, when we were first talking about it, it's like, oh, should we edit this thing and keep it, cut it shorter and make sure it fits format? I'm like, fuck no, unless one of you's doing it. Because I've done that. No. No. I've edited a small video. I've edited a tiny thing. Editing small things, the tiny little promos you see on my site. No problem. I got it. But like people that take 3 hours of podcast footage, sit there and edit it into chunks and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe, you know, I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, so no one's ever given me Adderall, but I wonder how much Adderall you got to take to edit one of those goddamn things. I mean, seriously, you get 3 hours. Some of the podcasts that I watch, if you ever watch the Deep Fat Fried on YouTube, if you like watching opinionated bearded assholes, there you go as well. On their podcast, you know, they got a weird take on certain things, but they'll do check this out. They'll do 6 hours of footage that goes to YouTube on their Onion Nuggets thing. And then right after that, they're filming like another 2 to 3 hours for just their patrons only. Maybe even longer. Like doing like a 12-hour day. Then somebody they pay named Peyton, who I believe is a family member of the Kirk family, maybe. Peyton, I believe, is the editor, chops it up and puts it into these editable chunks that go on there. And the reason why they're able to do this is TJ Kirk himself dropped out of high school when he was a sophomore. Not something I recommend nowadays. That could hurt you a lot. But he did it so he could make YouTube videos full time as the amazing atheist. And have all these hot takes and controversial opinions. And he did very well getting into the millions of subscribers, being one of the original young YouTubers to breach the subject. And now he's worked it into what I wish I could have done, really, where he created from the age of 16 a following doing something he loved, where he was able to bring in his brother and some of his other brothers and, you know, a cousin or two into the fold and a friend, and help share that artistic wealth with them and help them find their way, all of adding to each other, you know. But if you look at what he did to do it, wow, right? Most of us would have never dropped out of school. We wouldn't want our kids to do it. And yet, every once in a while you hear this story, the TJ Kirks, the Doug Stanhopes of the world, the Seth Rogans, who dropped out of school and went on a life of risky behaviors on the road to end up successful and influential. Whoa. A risk most people wouldn't take. And a risk that when most people take it, they fall straight on their fucking face. Not Doug Stanhope. Not TJ Kirk. What was the other one I mentioned? I had a third there. Fuck it. I forgot. Me, I finished high school. And I blame that for all of my failures.